First Take, should LeBron actually do something to help Carmelo's NBA return? Plus, does James Harden have a point about media bias? We'll debate it. And I'll tell you whether Cam Newton will return to MVP form this season. First Take right now.
Melo's absolutely being blackballed. He's one of the realest in it. He's one of those dudes that, you know, he ain't like me. He don't talk like brash and straightforward like that, but he has those morals and principles, you know. And he's given too much to the game for them not to allow him to play, or for them to, you know, kind of culturally just make a decision or an agreement that he's not good enough anymore. And another question is, while a guy like LeBron is walking around here like he's the face and voice of the players, how is he letting his banana boat brother hang out there in the wings and they go sign Jared Dudley and not Carmelo? If anybody watching this thinks that Jared Dudley can hold Carmelo's jockstrap, I'll slap you.
That is an aggressive Royce White there. All right, welcome back to First Take. We are coming to you live from above the Heineken River Deck at Pier 17. We just heard Royce talking about how LeBron should be taking care of Carmelo Anthony right now. And Stephen A., do you agree with that? Do you think that LeBron owes anything to Carmelo Anthony and should be pushing possibly to get him on a Lakers roster?
I don't think he owes Carmelo Anthony anything, but I do think it would be an incredible gesture for a friend who can still play and clearly is one of the best 400 to 450 players in the National Basketball Association. I went on the air earlier and said that Carmelo Anthony is somebody that would be willing to accept a role that limited him to 15 to 20 minutes a game. I think he would be willing to do that because he doesn't want to end his career in this way, okay? Does LeBron owe him? No. But is it something that I think that he should do, particularly for the Lakers? Yes, I do. Now, when I bring up LeBron James, you know, a lot of people are going to take offense to this. I don't care, but I'm going to say it again. Tristan Thompson, J.R. Smith, people like that, the contracts that they got, do I think is in part because of LeBron James? You're damn right I do. Now, Rich Paul deserves abundance of credit because he represents both. And obviously, you had a situation here. It wasn't like they signed contracts July 1st or what have you. It takes skill, negotiation prowess, and what have you, the kind of things that Rich Paul has clearly proven he can do and do pretty damn well. It takes a lot to do that. So I mean no disrespect to anybody. I'm not trying to disrespect anybody. I'm trying to speak to the greatness and the cachet and the prowess of the biggest iconic figure, arguably, in all of sports throughout the world, in LeBron James. Don't tell me that he can't have some kind of impact. I think when you look at what Carmelo Anthony could potentially bring to the table in terms of perimeter shooting, yes, you got it in Danny Green and Kuzma, all right? You don't know where else you have that with the rest of the roster. And I think that having somebody that you're tight with, that you can communicate with, that you vibe with, all of those things build chemistry. Carmelo Anthony has never been a locker room cancer. He doesn't speak abundantly off the record. He doesn't trust too many people. He doesn't violate trust. He's a rough rider in that regard as well. All of those things taken into consideration, I think is something that LeBron can do. But I would also like to add this, Max. I think Portland should be interested. I think Philadelphia should be interested. And from what I'm hearing, and I've been hearing this all morning since we did the segment over an hour ago, I'm hearing that there's chitter-chatter going on behind Melo's back. I don't know from who, but it's not players. It's coaches, it's GMs. And a lot of people don't realize that sometimes these coaches and GMs have the same reps as one another. So you say one person could say something and it can circulate because that clique is intact and they don't even know whether it's true or not. They're just going on word of mouth.
It doesn't seem like Carmelo deserves to have his reputation smeared behind the scenes. If that's what's keeping him out of the league, it doesn't appear to me to be fair.
Right.
That said,
Agree.
LeBron, sure, he put in a word for Carmelo, but only Carmelo can do for Carmelo. Now, what do I mean by that? He's still not completely getting it, Stephen A. The idea that a team needs to pay such special attention to their 10th best player, or the guy who's going to get the 10th most minutes on the team, that, oh, that guy's now willing to do X, Y, and Z. That's not how it works. If you're the 10th guy on the roster, you just show up, audition for the job, hope you get the job, and take what they give you. But Carmelo, because he was a superstar, of course he's used to the world not treating him that way. But if I'm running a team and I'm like, okay, the guy's not a good catch-and-shoot three-point shooter, just hasn't been. And which is surprising, because he could shoot well. And he's not a defender. And it's so like here's a guy who I think could get the most out of Carmelo and who Carmelo could probably help still. Popovich and the Spurs, right? They have a good track record at taking old, skillful players and putting them in the position to make contributions to winning efforts, right? But that takes an egoless kind of situation. So you think of the stars that most recently, Pau Gasol didn't get a ton of minutes and wasn't a great player anymore, but could be put in positions to make contributions. A team like that, maybe, Carmelo could work on. And clearly, he's better than guys riding benches for other teams. The difference is those guys don't even, it never occurs to them to say, I am now willing to do X, Y, and Z. Yeah, no kidding. You're the 12th best guy on the team. Of course, you take what we give you.
Well, here's where you have a point without even realizing it. I don't mean that. I don't mean it disrespectfully in any way. I mean, no, it is a compliment. But he's making a point without even realizing it. Melo, you're not the star anymore. Well, what do stars usually do? They don't come with just themselves. They come with their team. They come with an entourage of people. You know, a few. It could be just 2 or 3 people, but you got people that are flexing on your behalf, thinking that they have a level of cachet that they no longer have because you're no longer that dude. Sometimes you got to come by yourself and you got to let all of that go. Where I'm diametrically opposed to what you're saying is only in this one category. When you talk about Melo's got to come and work out and what have you, it's not like Melo is sitting at home saying, I'm Melo, you should call me. His agent has called. They've called the Clippers. They've called the Lakers. They've called Philadelphia. They've spoken to Portland. You got Damian Lillard, who's spoken up on Melo's behalf in the past, wanted Melo to come on 2 separate occasions. Melo elected not to go to Portland. That might have been a mistake on his part, depending on who you ask. Right now, from what I'm hearing, Terry Stotts has some reservations about Melo being in Portland. I don't know whether that's finite or not, but he does have some reservations, along with others. I got to wonder if there's anything at all that Mike D'Antoni is saying about Carmelo Anthony and whether or not that's having an impact. Or Daryl Morey after what Melo said about how things transpired in his exit from Houston. You just never know. So you got to think about all these things. But at the end of the day, could Melo help the Lakers? I think so. But I do think that somebody that just texted me made a very, very valid point when they said Melo coming alone. Not with your team. That does matter.
Stephen A., cutting through all the noise then, I mean, then we could come back to the alleged power of LeBron, right? So you said LeBron, they're friends. Mm-hmm. LeBron has advocated for him. I'm curious then, do you think LeBron has already tried to make a push for Carmelo Anthony? And if he didn't, why not?
I will say this to you. And I don't, in fairness to LeBron, I do not know, because I did not ask this question. I did not ask, so I don't know. But I don't believe that LeBron has prioritized going to the Lakers and saying, I want you to bring Melo to the squad.
I don't believe he's done that.
I don't believe he's done that.
That would be very interesting if that was the case.
Yeah, he should look out for his guy.
They need a big first, though. The Lakers need a big first.
Right, he should look out for his guy, and Carmelo shouldn't be unfairly drummed out of anything. He should be getting in and out on the merits.
LeBron did speak up for him last year when his name was being smeared.
Right, but LeBron is chasing a championship. In those situations, even a marginal player who may contribute in a certain way, like what can Quinn Cook do? Shoot the lights out, right? Like you don't want to burn a roster spot just to do a favor for a guy. Right. You want to know that guy can help you win a championship. And by the way, D'Antoni, if D'Antoni has anything to do with it, I'll say this. When Jeremy Lin when Linsanity was in New York, and I heard chirping, oh, Carmelo's a ball stopper. It's better off without him. I was telling everyone they were nuts. Carmelo's never been in a situation in New York with a winning team around. Watch what's going to happen when Carmelo comes back. I was supporting him. Guess what happened? The ball stopped, and D'Antoni couldn't run his offense. That happened. So if now at this point in Carmelo's career, GMs are maybe wary of remember how it was when we were like, no, we want to play differently, and there was an unwillingness to fully put your spirit into it. That you reap what you sow.
Max, I think that it's incredibly important, and this is the last point because I know we got to go. It's incredibly important that if somebody like Melo doesn't have a spot amongst 450 players, that the reason is highlighted as to why that is. I'm talking about by the teams. If you're a team and you sit up there and say, look, it's a difficult proposition to have a coach for us looking on the edge of the bench from the 10th to the 15th rotation with Carmelo Anthony sitting there. He's Carmelo Anthony. We can't do that to him. That is an easy sell as to why you wouldn't have Melo on your team.
That's why people like Royce White are reacting this way. You know why?
But there's no excuse. There's no excuse to sit up there and act like he's not as talented, one of the top 450 players.
There's a disconnect here between Carmelo stans, right? Like people who know how great he was as an offensive player and people who realize that his time is long past. And so you say, hey, teams should do that, and teams are sitting there going, why? We have more important things to do than worry about this dude's ego. You know,
I think people have to look at those decision makers because whether it's the analytics movement and other things that come into the fray, you just see some folks